My 28F brother, 26M, drunkenly confessed he's in love with my fiancée, 27F, during his speech at our engagement party. Now my family is divided. My fiancée is considering postponing the wedding. I've been with my fiancée, let's call her Sarah, for 5 years. We met in grad school, fell in love, and have been inseparable ever since. My brother, we'll name him Jake, has always been close to us. He's my only sibling, and we've always had a great relationship. Sarah and Jake got along well too, often joking that they were like siblings themselves. Last Saturday was supposed to be one of the happiest days of our lives, our engagement party. We had about 50 guests, a mix of family and close friends. The party was at my parents' house, in their beautifully decorated backyard. Everything was perfect, the weather, the food, the music. Sarah looked stunning in her white sundress, and I couldn't stop smiling, thinking about our future together. As the best man, Jake was supposed to give a speech. He seemed a bit nervous, which I attributed to public speaking jitters. He started off well, talking about our childhood, how he'd always looked up to me, and how happy he was that I'd found someone as amazing as Sarah. Then, he took a large gulp of champagne, and everything went to hell. His voice cracked as he said, "But I have a confession to make." The atmosphere in the garden instantly changed. You could hear a pin drop. I'm in love with Sarah. I've been in love with her for years. Collective gasps filled the air. Sarah's face went pale, my mom let out a small shriek, and my dad stood up so fast he knocked over his chair. I just sat there, frozen, unable to process what I'd just heard. Jake continued, his words slurring slightly, "I've tried to ignore it, to push these feelings away. But seeing you two so happy. It's killing me. Sarah, I think you're making a mistake. I could make you happier than my sister ever could." That's when all hell broke loose. My dad lunged forward, grabbing Jake by the collar and dragging him away from the microphone. My mom burst into tears. Sarah's parents looked horrified. And Sarah? She ran. Just got up and ran out of the garden, her bridesmaid chasing after her. I finally snapped out of my shock and went after Sarah, but she was already gone. Her bridesmaid told me she'd taken an Uber home and needed some space. I spent the next hour trying to calm down guests, apologizing, and attempting to salvage what was left of the party. Most people left quickly, murmuring awkward condolences. My parents were furious with Jake. Dad wanted to kick him out immediately, but Mom insisted he was too drunk to drive. They locked him in his old bedroom to sober up. I could hear him alternating between crying and retching all night. The next morning was tense. Jake emerged, looking like death warmed over. He tried to apologize, said he didn't mean it, that it was the alcohol talking. But the damage was done. Dad told him to leave and not come back until he'd figured out how to be a decent human being. Mom was torn between anger at Jake and worry for both her children. Sarah finally called me that afternoon. Her voice was hoarse from crying. She said she needed time to think, that everything was too complicated now. She suggested postponing the wedding until we could sort things out. I pleaded with her, told her that Jake's feelings changed nothing about our relationship, but she insisted on taking a break. It's been 5 days since the party, and everything is a mess. Sarah is still at her parents' house and barely responding to my texts. Jake has been calling and texting nonstop, alternating between apologies and doubling down on his feelings. I've blocked his number. My parents are divided. Dad wants to cut Jake out of the family entirely, saying he's betrayed us all. Mom thinks Jake needs therapy and support, not isolation. They've been arguing constantly. The extended family has taken sides too. Some think Jake's confession was brave and that we should hear him out. Others are disgusted by his actions and think he should be ostracized. My friends are trying to be supportive, but I can tell they're walking on eggshells around me. Sarah's friends have been radio silent. I don't know what she's told them, but I'm scared they're advising her to leave me. I feel like I'm living in a bad soap opera. How did my life turn upside down so quickly? I'm angry, hurt, confused, and scared. I love Sarah more than anything, and the thought of losing her over this is unbearable. But I'm also grieving the loss of the close relationship I had with my brother. Part of me wants to forgive Jake. We've been through so much together, and I know alcohol can make people do stupid things. But another part feels like this betrayal is too big to come back from. How long has he been hiding these feelings? Has he been trying to undermine our relationship this whole time? And Sarah? I'm trying to give her the space she asked for, but it's killing me. What if she decides she can't trust me because of what my brother did? What if she's actually considering Jake's words? The thought makes me sick. I don't know what to do. Reddit. How do I salvage my relationship with Sarah? Can my family ever recover from this? Should I try to forgive Jake, or is cutting him out of my life the best option? Any advice would be appreciated. I feel like I'm drowning here. Edit 1. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your support and advice. I've read every comment, and I'm overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. To address some common questions/suggestions. 1. Many of you have asked if there were any signs of Jake's feelings before this. Looking back, there might have been some red flags I missed. He always seemed to find reasons to hang out with us, and he was overly interested in Sarah's life. But I genuinely thought he just saw her as a sister. 2. A lot of you are suggesting couples therapy for Sarah and me. I think that's a great idea, and I'll bring it up when she's ready to talk. 3. To those asking about Sarah's reaction, she says she had no idea about Jake's feelings. She's not considering a relationship with him, thank God, but she's worried about coming between me and my brother. She's also questioning if she really knows our family, which hurts. 4. Some have suggested that Jake might have undiagnosed mental health issues. It's possible, and I'll bring up the idea of therapy to my parents. 5. To the person who asked, no, Jake and Sarah have never dated or hooked up, as far as I know. They met the same day I met Sarah. Edit 2. Things have developed, and not in a good way. Jake showed up at Sarah's parents' house last night. He was drunk again and made a scene, begging Sarah to give him a chance. Sarah's dad called the cops, and Jake was arrested for disorderly conduct. My parents bailed him out this morning. Mom is insisting he moves back home so they can keep an eye on him. Dad is furious but feels guilty about potentially making Jake homeless. I'm beyond angry. It feels like Jake is getting rewarded for his behavior while my relationship crumbles. Sarah called me after the incident. She was crying and said she can't handle the stress anymore. She's talking about moving to her cousin's place in another state for a while to clear her head. I'm terrified this means the end of our relationship. I'm going to try to see her in person today. Wish me luck, Reddit. I feel like I'm fighting for my future happiness here. Edit 3. I'm overwhelmed by the continued support and advice. Thank you all. Here's where things stand now. I managed to talk with Sarah in person yesterday. It was a difficult, emotional conversation, but I think we made some progress. She agreed to couples therapy, and we're going to our first session next week. She's still staying at her parents', but she's not moving away, which is a relief. As for Jake, my parents have given him an ultimatum. He either checks into a rehab facility for his drinking problem and starts therapy, or he's cut off completely. He initially refused but eventually agreed when he realized nobody was on his side anymore. I've decided to go low contact with Jake for now. I can't forgive him yet, but I'm not completely shutting the door either. It'll depend on his actions going forward and how genuine his attempts at redemption are. Sarah and I have a long road ahead of us, but I'm cautiously optimistic. We both acknowledge that we love each other and want to make this work. It won't be easy, but I believe we're strong enough to get through this. Thank you again, Reddit. Your support has been a lifeline during this crazy time. I'll update if there are any significant developments. Edit 4. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. I think it's time for a final update on this saga. First, the good news, Sarah and I are still together. The couples therapy has been incredibly helpful. We've had some brutally honest conversations about our relationship, our families, and our future. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like we're stronger for it. Sarah moved back in last week, and while we're taking things slow, I'm hopeful about our future. Now, for the complicated part, Jake. He completed his 30-day rehab program and has started individual therapy. His therapist thinks he might have undiagnosed depression, which contributed to his drinking and impulsive behavior. It doesn't excuse what he did, but it helps explain it. Jake reached out to me last week, asking if we could talk. After much deliberation, I agreed to meet him in a public place. He looked different. Sober, obviously, but also more grounded. He apologized profusely, admitting that his confession was selfish and destructive. He said he never actually expected Sarah to leave me for him, but the alcohol and his untreated mental health issues led to a moment of insanity. I won't lie, part of me wanted to punch him. But seeing him so genuinely remorseful made me realize that I miss my brother. We're not okay, far from it, but I think there might be a path to reconciliation in the future. For now, we're keeping our distance, but we've agreed to try family therapy once Jake is further along in his individual treatment. Sarah has been incredibly understanding about the whole Jake situation. She's made it clear that she never had feelings for him and was horrified by his confession. She's supportive of my decision to cautiously rebuild my relationship with Jake, as long as he respects our boundaries. My parents are doing better too. They've started marriage counseling to work through the stress of the past month. Dad is slowly coming around to the idea of forgiving Jake, especially now that he's seeking help. We've postponed the wedding indefinitely, but not cancelled it. Sarah and I both feel we need more time to heal and strengthen our relationship before we take that step. But we're committed to each other and our future together. This whole experience has been a harsh reminder that life can throw curveballs when you least expect it. It's tested our relationship, my family bonds, and my own capacity for forgiveness. While I wish none of this had happened, I can see now that we're all growing from this painful experience. Here's to hoping my next post will be about wedding planning, not family drama. Edit 5. Hey Reddit, it's been about 6 months since my last update, and I think it's time for another one. A lot has changed, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. First, the big news, Sarah and I got married. Yeah, I know, after everything that happened, it might seem sudden. But these past months have been transformative for us. The therapy really helped us communicate better and understand each other on a deeper level. We realized that we didn't want to let my brother's actions define our relationship. So, 3 months ago, we had a small, intimate ceremony with just our immediate families and closest friends. It was nothing like the big wedding we'd originally planned, but it was perfect for us. Now, about Jake. This is where things get complicated. He's been doing really well with his therapy and sobriety. He's held down a job for 4 months now and has been making amends with family and friends. He even started dating someone new last month. Sarah and I agreed to invite him to the wedding. It was a tough decision, but we felt it was an important step in healing our family. Jake gave a short, heartfelt speech at the reception where he apologized again for his past behavior and expressed genuine happiness for us. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. However, not everything is perfect. While Jake and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship, there's still an undercurrent of tension. I'm working on forgiveness, but trust is harder to regain. Sarah is polite to him but keeps her distance. I don't think they'll ever have the close friendship they once had, and that's something we're all learning to accept. My parents are doing much better. Their marriage counseling really helped them work through their issues, and they've become a united front in supporting both Jake's recovery and my marriage. Mom has become a vocal advocate for mental health awareness in our community, which has been really inspiring to see. As for Sarah and me, married life has been an adventure. We're currently house hunting and talking about starting a family in the near future. The whole ordeal made us realize life is too short to put our dreams on hold. Looking back, I never could have imagined that drunken speech would lead us here. It's been a difficult journey, full of pain and uncertainty, but also growth and unexpected blessings. We've all learned a lot about forgiveness, the importance of mental health, and the strength of family bonds. I want to thank this community once again for all your support and advice throughout this crazy situation. Your perspectives helped me navigate some really tough decisions. I think this will be my final update on this story. We're moving forward, focused on building our future rather than dwelling on the past. If there's one message I'd like to leave with anyone going through family drama, with time, effort, and a willingness to grow, healing is possible. It might not look like what you expected, but there can be beauty in the new normal you create.